Hi, my name is Jacob Heiners, and this is my algebra project for college algebra for Professor Natalia Darling. So what I have is quiz number 2, question 8, which wants me to manually graph x squared plus x minus 12. To start, I'm going to solve for the vertex using the vertex formula, which is negative b over 2a is equal to x. So to make sure I don't mix myself up, I'm going to label my quadratic up here of a, b, and c, and then plug in the answers. So it'll be negative 1 over 2 to the 1, which would be equivalent to negative 1 over 2, or negative 1/2. Then, from there, I plug that back into the original equation for x, so I'll have negative 1/2 squared minus would be minus 1/2 minus 12. And negative 1/2 is the same as negative 0.5, and I'm going to square that using my calculator to get negative 0.25 minus another 0.5, because 1/2 is equivalent to 0.5, minus 12, and I'll combine like terms to get negative 12.75, or in fraction form, negative 12 over 3/4. And that is my y coordinate for the vertex, or k, where up here, negative 1/2 was the equivalent to h, or my x coordinate. So now I have negative 1/2, comma, negative 12 and 3/4, which is equal to my vertex. The next thing I'm going to solve for is the y-intercept by plugging in x is equivalent to 0 for the equation above. I'll have 0 squared plus 0 minus 12. 0 squared is 0, so that will equal negative 12, which is equal to my y-intercept, which would be x of 0, y of negative 12. Then for my x-intercepts, I'm going to make the original equation, x squared plus x minus 12 equals 0, and solve for x. To do that, I am going to factor. And I'm going to factor, so 12x squared, its factors are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. 3 and 4 is the one I'm looking for, because that will give me the product of negative 12 with a sum of a positive x, if and only if I have a positive 4 and a negative 3. So I'm going to rewrite this, x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 12. Now factor that out. Which gives me factors of x minus 3 and x plus 4. And the roots of those will be the equivalent of making both of those equal to 0, and then solving. So by adding 3 to both sides for this one, I'll have 3 is equal to x, and by subtracting 4 from both sides from this one, I'll have x is equal to negative 4. And those will be my two x-intercept points. So I have two different x-intercepts of negative 4, 0, and 3 of 0. Then the last thing that I'm going to solve for is I just need one more point of my choice. So I'm going to plug in that x is equal to 2 back into the original equation. And I'll have 2 squared plus 2 minus 12. 2 squared is 4, plus 2 is equal to 6, minus 12 will give me negative 6. So that would be 2, negative 6. All right. So then I'm going to graph this. And I already have all my points figured out. So I just have to plug them in and label. So starting at the top with my vertex of negative 1/2, and then negative 12 and 3/4 would be roughly here. I'm just going to label that as vertex. Then from there, I have my y-intercept of x of 0 and y of negative 12, which is here. I have my two x-intercepts of negative 4, 0 and 3, 0. And then lastly, I have my point of choice, which was 2 and negative 6. So then roughly connected will be an upwards facing parabola. And that is my correction for question number 8 of quiz 2. Thank you.